Whether you realized it or not, you've always been shooting in one of these menu banks, these shooting menu banks, A, B, C or D. So what they are, they're a saved batch of camera settings that you can recall quickly, depending on your setup, and they're saved on the fly. So you were always in A. As soon as you got the camera, you were in shooting menu bank A. And that means that anything in this shooting menu that was changed, it is actually saved automatically to the shooting menu bank A. So I've named a few, as I've made a few changes. Now, what they're useful for is, well, particularly useful for sports and wildlife photography, but wherever you find yourself needing to change settings quickly, and that happens a lot, especially in wildlife. If there's a subject that's gone from stationary to moving, and you quickly need a faster shutter speed or a different ISO, whatever you need. So if you want to name your shooting bank, just be aware that it won't be visible in the viewfinder, and it won't be visible on the top LCD screen either. It'll only be visible on the back here. When you rename, just be aware that if you need to backspace, and this took me quite a while to realize, but it's actually the little bin, the little trash bin. That's your backspace. You won't find it in here. So yeah, just be aware of that. That took me a while and a bit of googling to work that one out. But get this camera back on track. Ooh. There we go. Alright. So now as you can see, there's another one called extended menu banks. So set that to on the whole time, because what it will do, it will save the exposure mode, aperture priority, shutter priority, manual mode, and the aperture itself and the shutter speed itself to each of the banks. Without that, then just say you're in bank A and you changed it to aperture priority mode, and if your previous last state for your bank B was manual mode and at 1/1000th of a second at f4, then it gets basically wiped with aperture priority mode if you have that at off, because you'll have the same mode for all four banks, which is sort of a bit of a waste. I'm not sure why Nikon did that. It should be on by default, really. Just know that your camera's drive mode isn't saved. So up the top here, of course, your single shot, continuous low, continuous high, all this isn't saved. Okay, and the actual AF servo mode, let's turn her around, so your continuous autofocus, sorry, and your single autofocus, that's not saved either. Okay, so just be aware of that. Now, your focusing mode isn't saved either. So area autofocus, dynamic area focus, single point, all these you're gonna have to switch them yourself. All right. Now that gets me to custom settings. Now there's a whole bunch of settings in your custom menu, obviously, and they won't be saved either, not to the shooting menu bank. Now what I would suggest is, if you're starting out, just leave the default custom setting bank and only play with your shooting menu banks, because I find those quite useful. And then later on you can deal with your custom settings bank and changes to them if you really need to. But what I want to go do is, how do you change your shooting menu bank quickly? Now there are a few methods. Obviously the first one is to actually come into here, the shooting menu, go into here, click on bang, and then you've got B. There we go. And you'll see it actually in the top here as well. You'll see shoot B. Okay. Now the other way to do it, which is quite nice, if you're just in normal mode, hit info and info again, bang, you're there. Okay. So I'll do it again. So info again, and that's the first item is your shooting menu bank. Now the way I like to do it is a little different. So I go to the menu, I actually go to controls, so keep it on custom setting A, and I assign my function button with the command dials to the shooting menu bank. So I just have to press the function button here on the front and give that a turn, and let's do it right now. B, C, D, and then back to A. Now you see the aperture, priority and manual modes changing. That's because of the extended menu bank. Without that, that would not happen. Alright, so just remember the custom settings in your camera. The custom settings bank contains what the camera does before releasing the shutter, while the shooting menu bank controls the output properties of the picture after the shutter is released. Alright, so if you can just remember those two things, you'll know what to do and when to do it. So just remember, you're going to choose the bank first, then make the changes. The bank will remember the changes as you go, so there's no need, there's no hitting a save button or anything like that. So just be careful, because you can be, oops, let's go back to our shooting menu bank, and I can be in general and then make all these changes, thinking I was in B for basketball, and yeah, they'll all be saved to that menu bank to the general. Now, one thing I find useful for and the only reason I have to actually add another custom settings bank is actually just the focusing method. For myself, I always use back button focus with the AF button here, and so what I've got is exactly that. So I've got focus with AF on. So I go into that custom setting bank, I go into autofocus, activation, and I select this. And once again, so for B is AF with shutter. So I'm going to come here and activation. So now it's shutter and AF activation on the shutter release. And the last one I've named MIL for mother-in-law. So this is anybody. It's a bit of a joke, but any guest that's using your camera, do the same thing. So you're going to have it as shutter release and AF on, and also you'll put them into probably single servo mode on the front. And a good thing is to have the beep whenever they take a shot. And there's the beep, and I've put that onto low. Alright guys, so that's just a quick rundown of the shooting menu bank and the custom settings bank. Remember, they're completely independent. They're automatically saved. There's no save button to do anything with. Just finally, now one thing I got used to is having image review off. So I might go into the next video, but just remember that's actually in the playback menu, so that is separate. The actual image review, seeing it on your back LCD. But guys, I hope this has been helpful in any way, and I will be delving into it again in a slightly different video next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.